Hello everyone and welcome back to another Design Cut live workshop session. Abbie, of course, a huge thank you for joining us. I'm really excited for today's workshop.
Cool, me too. Hi Tom. Hi everybody.
What are you going to be teaching the lovely community today?
I'm going to be showing you how to create a Linocut / woodcut tea towel in Procreate.
Awesome.
So we're going to be making a tea towel sort of like you would have seen in Granny's kitchen, those mid-century veggies and things, kind of classic tea towel look. So I'm going to start on an A4 size canvas. And if you want to print your design through Spoonflower, this is a perfect format because their tea towel format is the perfect size and ratio for it. So in the canvas picker thing, just pick A4, which is here, and it'll give you the exactly right size. And then when you upload it to Spoonflower, if you're ever going to do that, there's a place where you can add tags at the bottom. And all you have to add is the tag tea towel. I think it's SF for Spoonflower and then tea towel. And it will orientate it perfectly and display it as a tea towel there. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So I started by drawing a whole lot of things. I'm not going to sit and draw them for you. I'm just going to show you what I drew. So any veggies are okay. So here I've got broccoli and a bit of a chopping board, some radishes. There's a cut up radish. What's this one? Hang on, let's turn that off. Oh, that's celeriac. Very posh. What's this one? Not that. That's some peas. Maybe some tomatoes. So I suggest drawing a whole lot of veggies, seeing which ones make you feel happy, and then making a bit of a composition with what you've got on your. So here I've got leeks, a red pepper. I think maybe I should add a bit of parsley, and then move them around and decide how you'd like them to be orientated and what makes sense visually. Yeah, that could make a nice tea towel with some onions and peas and leeks. So once you've got your design done, I've got this one drawn here. So once you have your drawing done, pop it on the bottom layer so that you can see it, and then add a couple of layers above it and set them all to multiply, because you want to still be able to see your drawing and you want to see how the colors you're going to add will interact with each other. So I'm going to duplicate these multiply layers a whole lot of times by dragging them out into the canvas, and then they just populate the top. So now I've got a whole bunch of them. I don't need to individually duplicate them all. Okay, and now to start the actual Linocut process, what we're going to be doing is actually making almost a stencil, and then from that stencil, print the Linocut. So we're going to draw the stencil in the color that we wanted to print in and layer up the print layers. The stencil layers, and then print them second. So I'm going to start with green because I want the leeks to be green, and I want the sage and the asparagus to be green. So can you see I'm in the Lino and Woodcut pack of the Procreate Printworks pack, and I'm going to use just cutting tool narrow. That's my favorite one for doing individual cuts. And then these other cut tools at the bottom that give you multiple cuts. But to start with, we'll just use the top one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline outside my drawing and fill this area as if it is a piece of linoleum that's cut roughly to the shape of the veggie. And I'm going to do that with all of the bits that I want to be this green color. And with the leeks as well. I love leeks. They're the best veggie. It's like posh onion.
Good for soups.
Exactly. Okay, now I want my eraser to also be the same cutting tool. So I'm going to use that trick of holding down the eraser, and it will immediately swap to the last brush that I was using. And now what I'm going to do is pretend that I am cutting away the linoleum to leave just what's going to be printed. And I don't want to be perfect because I want it to still look like somebody's clumsy hand has been gouging away at lino. And if it's too perfect, it doesn't look like that. So I'm going to start chopping away the lino or the color around the edge of the shapes that I've just filled. And we're going to be using two colors here, green, and I'm going to be using blue as well. And those, the color palette that I'm using, plus another two color palettes that are actually quite nice for this kind of thing, are in the freebies pack that I provided. There's also two mock-ups that I'll show you how to use at the end to make your tea towel look snazzy. So when you do a linocut, you sometimes leave these funky little bits around the edge. So don't erase all of them. Just let them be there and tell your perfectionist side to shush.
Easier said than done.
Yes. There's something about digital work that can be really difficult to overcome that isn't a challenge with drawing on paper. And that is, if you draw on paper, once you make the mark, that's it. Bad luck. It's there. And you just have to adapt it to whatever you're drawing or painting or whatever. And I think that's often we use undo or erase way too much because it's so easy. So can you see the vibe that I'm getting here, where it's being chopped away?
Yeah, I really like that concept, actually. Erasing rather than adding.
Yeah, it gives you a more authentic linocut look. Linocut is a bit of a nemesis for me because I chopped my finger so badly at university on a piece of lino that I had to lie on the floor because I fainted.
Oh, no.
It was terrible. And all of my friends were standing around going, Abigail, what is wrong with you? Okay, this can be quite time consuming and tedious. So I'm not going to do it too perfectly. Otherwise, you guys might get too bored. Can you see what I'm going for? This sort of I spent ages looking at vintage tea towels to get the vibe of how they are designed. And there's a lot of using colors that aren't the same color as the veggie. Like they'll sort of use bright pink for a tomato or blue for an onion. And I really like that.
Yeah, I've noticed that in your work. Actually, it looks very confidently and intentionally stylized.
Yeah, I like that vibe. Okay. Right. So you can see with these asparagus that I've left the whole asparagus green. Now, I actually want to have some little highlights on the asparagus. What are these things called? The little scales. So put a few little glints of light on these shiny little asparagus scales. There we go. Okay.
We got a question from Alex who said, would it be faster and easier to create this design using vector software? Which is a good question. You know, is there a reason why Procreate might be a good option here?
I think it's just the organic way that you can work in Procreate as opposed to vector software. Because the way I'm working, I'm almost recreating the process of a Linocut by cutting and then printing. I think with vector software, you'd have to be a lot more technical and intentional about where you are leaving things uncut, etc. But if that is a stylized look that you prefer, by all means, go for it. There's a cleanness and scalability that you can't get from this kind of process that you can get from vector images. Oop.
Yeah, as you say, maybe it's down to preference, but I really like this organic look of like the debris that you're leaving behind.
Debris, that's a really good way to explain it. Okay, so we've got all the shapes of all the veggies. Now I want to add some sort of texture and detail. And I also, with these leeks, I don't want the bottoms to be green. I only want the tops to be green. So we can start with the leeks. I'm going to erase the meat at the bottom here. This doesn't need to be particularly neat, but up here, what I want is I want to make it go up in stripes to make it look like I've taken that cutting tool and just run up the length of the leek like that. This bit I'm going to erase the majority. And then on this leaf, we're going to do a bit the same. If I wanted to be quicker, I could use this big one. There we go. Okay. So that looks good for the leeks. Now for these asparagus, I want to create some texture running up and down them. So I'm going to use this cutting tool here called Thin Cuts. But if I just went like this, it would go over all of the asparagus at once, which I don't want to do. I want each asparagus to look like it's separate from the other. So I'm going to select it using freehand select to isolate it. So draw around it, grab the eraser, and add a little bit of detail. Don't be too fussed if your marching ants are slightly in the wrong place. It doesn't matter. When you're making a large selection carefully using freehand select, do small increments and lift your pencil, because if you draw an elaborate, long, unending line and you stuff it up right near the end, if you do back, it will delete all of that selection that you've just made and you'll feel very sad. So if you do little bits, then you can go back and just erase the last little selection that you did. There we go. Right, and I think on these leaves, I'd like to add a little bit of detail and texture. Okay, so I'm going to add some detail to these leaves. Let's just do half the leaf. And I'm going to use thin cuts again because you can get it to go in a direction. So that looks okay. Let's do half of this leaf. I wish that Procreate could make it that you could have streamline on the selection tool as well. It would be a game changer.
They're pretty rapid at rolling out improvements, aren't they?
Yeah, I've made the request numerous times. And then I think on these parsley leaves, I'm just going to maybe just give it a vein in the middle of the leaf. Cool. Right, so we've got one color done. Now we want to also have some blue involved. So let's fill a whole layer with blue. And we know that we don't want to have the blue over here where the white is. But there are other places where it actually looks quite nice with the green. So I think I actually don't want these leaves to be blue. So I'm going to grab freehand select. I'm just going to go around them like that. And then clear that selection so that they stay green. But I think the vein needs to be blue, so I can go back in with the cutting tool and use it as a pen and just add that back in. Okay, that looks nice. And the actual leeks, let's grab that big erasing tool. And we can erase this bottom bit because we definitely don't want that to be dark. But up here, I actually like this dark green that's formed here, but maybe can ease it in a bit with a bit of texture. So let me finish erasing this. We can go back there. Okay, so I'm going to use this freehand select again. And I'm going to select this bit here. Whoops. And I'm going to grab thin cuts. And then if I do this, it blends it in a bit. And it actually looks very cool. Right, let's do to the next one.
This is coming together. This is cool.
Yeah, it looks like nothing for a little while, and then suddenly you can see what's happening. Okay, that looks good. Now with these asparagus, what is the plural of asparagus?
Asparaguses?
It sounds about right.
Asparagus sounds like a mascot or something. It's like a suit.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that these stay nice and green to go with that shiny dot of white that I put there in the beginning.
I keep thinking you've got like a really peppy Amazon delivery driver or something.
Is it the birds?
Yeah, just whistling away.
There's a magpie that lives in the tree outside our house, and it dive bombs people when they walk past. It's my favorite thing because I sit here at this window and I can see everybody walking past. And the best is the boys coming home from high school, and the magpie starts to dive bomb them. They all just scream. They're like, it's hilarious. Magpies are an absolute scourge.
Yeah, they can be pretty aggressive.
Yeah, but they sing so nicely, so you've got to take the good with the bad. Okay, and let's add to this texture. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Make sure that I'm not erasing outside of the asparagus. That looks cool. Should I do any erasion on this? Let's maybe give it a few little veins. This is Italian parsley, just in case you're wondering. Not the frilly kind. Okay.
Is that like flat leaf?
Yes. Need some of these little leek pubes. There we go. Right. Okay, let's turn the drawing off and see. That looks quite nice. It looks, I'm happy. Okay, now, oh, hang on.
It's looking really cool.
I don't actually want all of this blue around the edge. I think what I'm going to do is cut away at it so it looks like I've cut the edges off the lino block so that it fits better on the format. Does anybody have any questions up to now?
Let me have a look. So if someone isn't using Procreate, can they transpose the techniques that we're seeing here in different software?
I think so. If you've got a sharp, opaque brush
like and eraser,
brush, yeah, in Photoshop, I don't see why you couldn't do it there. Okay.
Oh, I love that frame. That's so cool.
Yeah, it just makes it look like I've chopped it out. My son came home from school with a Linocut that he'd done in class this year, and it was a bloodthirsty platypus, which, you know. Okay.
Much more terrifying than the traditional duck build.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now we're going to print these layers. So you can see that wherever the blue and green are overlapping, you get that nice dark green. So now just from the two colors, we've created 3 separate colors. And we're going to, so now we can print them. You can either print them using the wood block. Let me first show you the wood block version. So you turn off your layers that you had as your print block layers, and you tap select. So tap the layer, tap select, and then the selection will come up. And go to a new layer that you've already set to multiply and grab the color you want, and I'm choosing wood block. And then you just go across it with the pencil. And watch, if I press really hard, it will go opaque. But if I press softly, you'll still be able to see the wood grain. Oh, hang on. Okay. And let's do the green one. So tap the green layer, tap select, choose the green you want to use, go to a new layer that's set to multiply, and fill in your texture. And that's your print. Now make a little offset by just shifting one of your layers to the side a little bit to make it look like the registration of the print hasn't worked properly. And there, that one is very nice.
Amazing. What did I say earlier, everyone? It's all therapeutic and nicely filling things in with Abbie. And then in the final like few minutes, it just comes together amazingly and creates these incredible effects.
I also want to show you that there are other brushes in the Procreate Printworks pack that you can use for this kind of printing, and they look pretty cool as well. So I'll turn these two off. In the inks and brayers pack, all of these can be used for this kind of printing. The ones that are called brayer, and also these ones that are called patina at the end, and fill that one as well. So I'm going to use Inky Gappy, and I'll do it again. So I'll select the blue layer, grab blue. That's not the blue I was using. And now I can print that. And this looks a lot more sort of gappy and messy, which is actually pretty cool. And select the green layer, grab green, go to a multiply layer. That looks really nice. I think I prefer this one. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks pretty beautiful. It's hard because I really like the kind of blotchy texture that's going on. Can we see a side by side or
comparison? Hang on. Let me group these so I can turn them on and off easily.
I'm such a texture lover, to be honest. Anyway.
This is wood, and this is the blotchy one.
I think that one, just because I love texture so much, and that one's even more textured.
And then in the freebies today, I actually included 2 texture brushes to make a fabric texture to make like a pretend tea towel. And this is how you use them. So they're called overlay and tea towel fabric. With both of them, you use white, pure white. This one at the top corner called okay. And you go to a new layer. And which one do I have? Overlay. The overlay one needs to be in a layer above your design. So here, let's put it there and set it to overlay. And then you just fill the whole layer with the texture here. Let me show you what it looks like if it's set to normal. It looks like nothing, just that gray weave. When you set it to overlay, it creates the texture in your piece. And then there's another,
cool.
There's the matching brush, which is the underneath layer. And that's on this layer below, and it just elevates the dark areas, the light areas as well. See, if you don't have it, then wherever there's white, because that layer on the top is overlay, you won't actually see any effect. So this one allows the white areas to also have the texture. And these brushes work exactly the same as the brushes in the paper brush pack of the Procreate Printworks pack, because these all have an overlay layer and underneath layer, like this one. Let me show you. We'll do sugar paper. Clear that. Clear that. So sugar paper overlay. And then the sugar paper underneath. And there you can see that grainy, crispy texture of the sugar paper. So beautiful. Those are really handy. Those are really handy brushes to have around. Now let me just
quickly. It always
quickly...
looks so real, like that does not look digital.
Yeah, I like that too. And now this is how you use this nice picture that you've made in the mock-up so that you can be famous on Instagram. So turn off all of your texture layers and just keep your printed layers visible. So I've got these two blotchy print layers here, and go to the wrench or spanner or whatever your language calls it, and press copy canvas. And then in the freebies, there are two mockups. And when you download them, you should get a Procreate canvas that's all set up. And it looks like this. So there's lighting, pegs, blah, 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 and some backgrounds to choose from, which you can swap out to choose the background you like. And then make sure you're on the layer that's called Your Design in all caps. And do 3-finger down swipe and paste that thing you just copied. And then just scale it so that it fits on your tea towel. There you go.
Wow. I want
Cool.
that tea towel in my life.
Yeah, and
Absolutely beautiful.
What else did I have to tell you? No, I think that's it.
Incredible. Well, Abbie, I'm blown away as ever. I love the mock-up at the end as well. I'm a sucker for textures and mock-ups, and you're right, this is very Instagram friendly, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's give it up for Abbie in the chat, please. Such an informative session, such an incredible natural looking outcome as well. And I think the beauty of this technique is it's so versatile. You could use this for all different types of illustrations, and it just really adds so much style and texture and visual intrigue to your work. So incredible. Thank you. I just want to take this opportunity while we're live to say thank you to everyone who's watching this live and on the replay. Our incredible community. We appreciate all of you. We hope you get some downtime with friends and loved ones, and that everyone stays safe, is healthy, and we can't wait to see all of you in 2022. So thank you.
Gonna have to get used to saying that.
I know.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Abbie. Chat soon.